It's a big day if you're an XRP holder. Obviously, lots of exciting market action, as I've already highlighted on my channel, but there are other developments that have unfolded today as well, which are absolutely fantastic. Just chef's kiss if you're an XRP holder. So I have 3 stories to share with you in this legal SEC appeals ending 4-year legal battle. And so, yes, it's officially over. We already knew it was over, but there was an actual new mandate that came down today, making it so. Then there was this. Canary Capital files amended S1 for XRP ETF, boosting approval hopes. So if you want your XRP to go rocket shippy this market cycle, honestly, I still firmly believe the XRP ETFs, they're going to get approved. Almost certainly this year. It's a question of will it happen during like the extremes of market euphoria. That's what I'm hoping for. Now I think we still have market euphoria regardless, but if this happens, it's just more fuel to the fire if the timing lines up. But there's signs that yes, this absolutely is moving forward. Can you imagine this being the case a year ago? Because it's real life here, folks. The case is over. XRP ETF's about to get launched. And then we also have this headline. New dawn, Ripple CEO reacts to Fed governors embracing crypto. So new words from Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse. It sounds like reflecting the same way pretty much all of us are on how things are so different from not that long ago. All it took was different leadership in the White House, and we got it. We have the first pro-crypto administration in the history of this country. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And as everybody knows, the case, we knew it was over on the 7th, August 7th. Here's a headline from August 7th. SEC Ripple lawsuit to end after joint agreement to drop appeals. There's a post from Ripple Chief Legal Officer Stuart Alderati at the time, and he wrote, following the commission's vote today, the SEC and Ripple formally filed directly with the Second Circuit to dismiss their appeals. The end. And now back to business. And so really, I'd say that was considered the end because it's not like the Second Circuit could force Ripple and the SEC to continue to sue each other into oblivion when they're like, no, we don't want to do this. So this was really more so of a clerical thing, as far as I'm concerned. It's something that had to happen from a filing perspective, but it was going to happen regardless. And so the news on this today, this is from Crypto Slate, reads as follows. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit issued a mandate on August 22nd approving the dismissal of the appeals in the case between Ripple and the Securities and Exchange Commission. The court order, shared by lawyer James Filan on X, officially ends one of the crypto's most consequential legal battles. And so here's the post where he shared that at 11:59 a.m. This morning. Shout out and credit to James K. Filan. For years on end, he has provided every single legal update that there is. And in most cases, he's the reason that we first knew about any of these developments. So much love for him. And anyway, piece continues. Despite the news, XRP's price increased less than 1% within 1 hour, trading at $3.06 as of press time. Okay, that made me laugh the first time I read it because it's a stupid thing to write. For a couple of reasons. First of all, any time over the last year there's been news having to do with the SEC Ripple lawsuit, the market's reaction has been very muted because it's already priced in. It's only a bunch of fringe idiots that would think it makes sense to panic sell or FOMO in based on any news here. Come on. Also, and then as far as 1%, super low, yeah. But that's because in hours past, XRP had rocketed from $2.78 up to that level of $3.06 after Powell gave his speech at Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which I talked about in my last video and the video before that. So it had already made a big move here. So then when you get extra news and everybody's already pretty stoked about what's happening in the market, and then when this is already a known factor anyway, of course this is going to come down. What do you expect here? So anyway, is what it is, but it does mark the conclusion of, finally, even from a clerical perspective, it's done. And so it is nice to see, though. So in that sense, still happy to report on it. Then we have this second story. Canary Capital files amended S1 for XRP ETF, boosting approval hopes. And it's actually bigger than this, so check this out. Canary Capital Group has filed an updated S1 to the SEC regarding their proposed Canary XRP ETF. The move is seen as a major step toward mainstream adoption of the Ripple-associated token in U.S. markets. The SEC document shows that the updated registration statement outlines a plan for the fund to list on the CBOE BXZ exchange. It would provide investors with direct exposure to XRP without requiring them to hold the digital asset themselves. And of course, that's why this matters to us as XRP holders. I know that we're not going to be buying the XRP ETF. Why would we do that when we can just hold it ourselves? It's for people who don't want to jump in crypto and get a Coinbase account, this or that. But now they can just go through their regular means wherever they go to purchase stocks, and they can just buy an XRP ETF, get exposure, and then it is the fund itself, in this case it would be Canary Capital, that purchases XRP to back the XRP ETF. So it materially impacts the supply and demand dynamics for XRP. That's why it matters for us. It will make XRP more scarce. That is going to be truly substantial, in particular over a span of years and decades. It's going to be gigantic, but it's actually not just Canary Capital, which is why I said it's bigger than that. Here's a post from Nate Garachi. This is from 4:18 p.m. this evening. And he said, S1 amendments rolling in today on spot XRP ETFs. Canary, CoinShares, Franklin, 21 Shares, Wisdom Tree, and Bitwise so far. Highly notable to see them cluster like this. Very good sign, in my opinion. And then he updated, what was this? 2 minutes later, he said, add grayscale. So all of them filed S1 amendments. Very good sign. And so I responded to him, and he hasn't written back yet. He doesn't have to, but I was just curious, okay, what caused this to all happen in one day? Like, clearly something triggered this. And since I hadn't gotten a response from him, I kept searching, and I think I found a pretty satisfactory answer from James Seifert. James Seifert is an analyst over at Bloomberg, and so he tracks heavily all the stuff that's happening in crypto, pertaining to ETFs. And so he wrote here, bunch of XRP ETF filings being updated by issuers today, almost certainly due to feedback from SEC. Good sign, but also mostly expected. Yeah, well, I would agree, it's certainly expected. It would be bizarre if these things don't get approved. We have a pro-crypto administration in charge here. The war on crypto is officially over. It's done. Everything that they can do to prop up crypto, they've shown they're going to do. From this administration, from the top on down, it's the polar opposite from what happened under the previous administration. You'll love to see it. So the reason, again, what he's saying triggered this is the SEC providing feedback, which means that there's actual engagement, which means things are moving along. That's why this happened. That's why it's good news. These things are going to get approved. And when? Well, here's an update from Eleanor Terrett, who wrote that this development makes sense because the October deadline for all of this is approaching. So we're going to know soon. And you absolutely could be in euphoria season when that news hits. So again, if that does happen, if it lines up perfectly, fuel to the fire, my friends. XRP rockets regardless, in my personal opinion. That's what I expect to happen here. Nobody knows for sure it's going to happen. That's my expectation. And I think price goes way higher from where we are right now. This will just be one more thing that ain't going to hurt. You know what I'm saying? Then we got this. New Dawn. Ripple CEO reacts to Fed governors embracing crypto. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse has commented on how rapidly attitudes toward crypto have changed over the past year, describing such a drastic shift as a new dawn. Garlinghouse claims that discussions at this year's SALT 2025 investment conference feel very dramatically different, with regulators and policymakers being more open to the nascent asset class. Oh, you don't say. Of course. In traditional finance is wholeheartedly embracing crypto now because they understand that there aren't going to be negative legal ramifications. Because, and obviously you can tell just because of the tone from the top on down, like I just said a minute ago, but also Congress is taking action. We got the Genius Act passed. We've got the Clarity Act, which I talked about in recent days. That passed the House. The Senate's going to take that up after the August recess, so expect some sort of vote almost certainly in September, next month. We're almost there. And then if that goes well, you got the president signing it. That'll be dramatic because that actually adds clarity to the rest of the cryptocurrency asset class. So the Genius Act was all about stablecoins. The Clarity Act, that's about everything else, including XRP. And what is a digital commodity? And that's what they're going to classify all of these tokens as. Almost all of them, including XRP, will be classified as digital commodities. And there's no more question mark. That's what we've been begging for. Throughout the entire SEC v. Ripple lawsuit, that's what we were screaming for. Please just classify what it is. And it's clearly not a security, so what is it? It's a commodity then. and they're calling it a digital commodity. That's what's in the Clarity Act. It already passed the House. So you want some finality, whew, that'll be it. And coming from Congress, that's what we need. We needed this clarity not from litigation, but from Congress. And then it can be enforced. And that's what's coming. And so Stuart Alderati wrote this. Glad to be here at SALT conference alongside A16Z, Blockchain Association, Mistin Labs, and CNBC talking about this post-Genius Act world, the most important tenets of any market structure bill, and what it means to have a cohesive legislative and executive branch crypto strategy. Just a bunch of policy wonks in quite possibly one of the most beautiful event locations around. And so that was reposted by Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse, and he wrote the following just this morning at 11 a.m. Make a wish. While many attendees at SALT have been in crypto for a long time, the change in tone on stage, one-on-one combos, from even a year ago is dramatic and very palpable. I don't think many of us had multiple Fed governors publicly embracing crypto technology on our bingo cards. A new dawn, indeed. That one gets a little golf clap. You love to see it, folks. Congratulations on being in crypto at one of the most consequential moments you could have possibly been in crypto. We were right. We win. We're on the right side of history. Upwards.